Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Yellowjackets Season 2 premiere. This was directed by Daisy Von Schlurmeyer, who directed the episode Doomcoming, and this was written by showrunners Ashley Lyle and Bart Nickerson. Before I jump in my review, just want to say please subscribe. It means so much. It's like coming down the wire here. I'm trying to hit 30K subs so I can get a Rotten Tomatoes approval, so I'd really appreciate that. So, with my review, I'm so excited to talk about and unpack so much that goes on in this premiere. And I just want to start first covering everything that happens up into the intro, and then eventually I'm going to branch out and kind of take character by character story in this episode because there is so much here going on, and we'll kind of make it more clear of everything they're giving you here. So we see, though, there's this 2-month time jump from when we last saw our crew in the wilderness. And even just from this opening sequence, you see that Van and Ty are tied together so Ty doesn't go out in the middle of the night. And a lot felt like here, which we'll get more into when we talk about Ty's character, that they're setting up a reunion we all gotta want at the end of the day is Ty and adult Van in present day. Now we also see that Lottie has Travis and Natalie drink her blood before they go out. And Natalie's like, it's not like this Wicca stuff is doing us any good, but that's when Natalie's like, well, you keep coming back alive, don't you? So this episode really leans into this Natalie and Lottie showdown and clash they're inevitably going to have more and more in the wilderness, and that we know Natalie's one who's kept her head straight throughout their time in the wilderness. And that the note Travis gave Natalie before she died, it said, you were right. So I think that Lottie is converting Travis as this goes on. They're clearly saying this in this episode, which I'm going to break down how that's happening. But that's going to be a divide between Natalie and Travis, and how you have Travis falling into Lottie's mindset. I remember they say last season that Natalie's the reason they made it out alive. So I think that is always going to be the one who keeps their head straight, guaranteed, is Natalie, and Lottie's the complete opposite during their time. We're going to see that unfold as the seasons go on. It was also huge that Lottie was drawing the symbol on the window, because we saw the symbol a lot in the wilderness last season, but we never saw anybody embrace it or acknowledge it that much, and this is Lottie fully embracing the symbol. So even in this 2-month timeline, this jump we had here, we didn't really see yet how that came about, so we'll probably see that in a little maybe flashback, or they'll allude to it somehow, explain it. But it's big. What's also big is the first time we see a new timeline in 1998, and this is when the girls got back from the wilderness to the real world. Now, it doesn't confirm anything, not seeing certain people in this scene at the airport, but I did not see Coach Ben, who would have stood out because of how tall he is. No Javi, and I did not see Mari. And why I think that's important too is because all signs point to Mari as Pit Girl. Everyone's wondering who Pit Girl is. I don't think Mari makes it back at all, and I think this scene kind of confirmed it in my eyes. But you see that the big thing here is we get a little time with Lottie here, and Lottie won't sleep since being back. She's not eating. Now, we know she was on medication before she left. Her family is like, what do we do? She's not doing any of these things, talking, eating, and they give her shock therapy. That's important, though, because that could also change how we're seeing Lottie present day than the Lottie we might see at the end here in the wilderness time. There's going to be different, maybe, belief systems even of Lottie we see. Variations of it. But what's also big is she touches the patient who's losing their mind in the hospital near her, and it immediately calms her down. And she says, they can make you better. Same way they helped me. I do not think she's talking about the shock therapy. I think she's talking about something spiritual, some Wicca stuff, whatever it is that she's alluding to will make them better. And we see Lottie will use this same power on Travis later on in the episode, which we'll get to later. Now we get our first look then. It cuts to the present day Lottie, and she's this guru type cult leader. And the thing she's talking about is this primal elemental self. And she's like, we're the ones making ourselves sick. The rest of it doesn't matter because it isn't real. Now, this is so perfect for someone like Lottie to believe this. It makes total sense for her character. She is the complete opposite of Jackie, where maybe in the real world she didn't thrive, but in the wilderness, this is her home. She looks upset when they got back, and that's why she screams here right before the credits come in of seeing the real world again. It all just clicks perfectly in that she probably wants to just get back to our animalistic instincts as humans and not with all these society constrictions and beliefs we have. So I think that's where it's leaning with Lottie, and I thought it was very interesting. And I love how they cut right to the opening sequence after her scream. And I love they kept the opening sequence music the same. Thank God. I know there's a lot of press about Florence and the Machine doing Just the Girl cover by No Doubt, but I'm happy. Some people were saying they might be doing the opening music. I was like, no, keep it the same, because you don't want to get it to too popular zone where, yeah, the show's a hit now, and then everyone wants a piece of the pie. You don't want to give everyone a piece of pie. You don't want the Ed Sheeran appearing in Game of Thrones effect. So, I like Florence and the Machine. It's no diss to her. I just don't want it to be the Florence and the Machine show now either. Let's keep Yellowjackets and still in its glory in its own right. And I love in the present day we see that Misty is using a voice changer on Shauna, practicing interrogation about what happened to Adam. And she asks about the sex, which was hysterical. And she's even like, you just need to say I want my lawyer. I put on the cookie. It's just a great Misty moment. You also have to wonder how the private detective Jessica, who was the fake reporter, is doing right now, having just crashed her car from the drugging that Misty did to her. So we have to definitely touch base on that. It's not touched upon this episode, but I'm sure it's going to come back. Misty's also weary they didn't cover all their tracks. So she's getting, rightfully so, Shauna more alert, because Misty's better at those type of things. So making sure they kind of get out of this cleanly, and it will set off Shauna to looking into things that she might have left behind that could get her caught. So that starts the episode that way. So now the episode branches in its own way to different characters, different timelines. So I'm going to go by character and their certain timeline. And I'm going to start with Shauna. Everything happens to her in the present day. So Callie's as frustrating as ever. And they use it in a great way because it's not like annoying to the audience. It's humorous because she's literally mad that her dad doesn't know about Adam. But then Shauna tells her that she did tell her dad, and then she's still mad at her. There's no win here. Now, what's huge about what happens here with Callie is that we meet her boyfriend, Kyle. That's important because that's just another character that's going to be connected to Callie that could be a problem leading into Shauna here, because Callie finds the big thing at the end, the ID of Adam in the grill that wasn't fully burned. So Callie's getting curious. This isn't good. And she's going to be a loose end for Shauna here for sure. And that could even lead to someone like Kyle, who's probably going to be some kind of character who just does something stupid that hurts them in the end. That's what I'm going to predict. But not looking good in that case. But Shauna realizes she needs to go to Adam's art studio and brings Jeff. So Shauna is embracing now her wild side of wanting to imagine Jeff with somebody else that it turns around. She's like, I used to think I was a pervert, but I'm embracing it. And they have sex, and they're doing it in front of these portraits of Shauna that Adam drew. I thought it was interesting that she's facing the portrait of her that looks like all flesh of her, and it kind of just showing and a reminder to me of just like the monster we all have inside of us, and that Shauna's seeing that, and so is Jeff. And then Jeff, after this, goes full Papa Roach in the garage, thinking about what just happened. I think he's very conflicted because we saw last season they were trying to better their sex, so they're having better sex, but we also see he's referring to about the girl about being an old-fashioned dad. He is old-fashioned, right? He is a loyal husband, and he wants to, I think, keep it that way. So this is kind of weird to him, hearing his wife like saying, I imagine you with someone else. That's how I read it, so I think it's bittersweet for him. But maybe she's breaking that down in Jeff and him being so traditional. I love, though, when he comes out after Papa Roaching in the garage, she's like, why are you so sweaty? I thought that was great. And look, Shauna was emotional. We didn't get to really see her do that much over Adam because she really did like Adam. So we see that when she's burning the ID. Didn't fully burn it, of course. And they didn't even check. They should have checked. But it's huge. She burned her journal. I didn't think she'd actually do that because she was emotional over that as well. So now it's Shauna's past. Crazy, crazy stuff. So first off, amazing that we get to see Ella Pernell as Jackie again. If you've watched my season 1 reviews, Jackie was my favorite character. So I was happy to see her again. And I love Ella Pernell as an actress. And we see her in ghost form, and she predicts Shauna's future, marrying Jeff, gonna be like her mom. And then it literally shows you that she's talking to the actual frozen dead body of Jackie. That's where it's crazy. It's this messed up version of Weekend at Bernie's. And we see Shauna's talking through her guilt through this ghost version of Jackie, and they're talking about when she first got with Jeff. And she was justifying in her head originally, Shauna, that she was going to do it because Jeff was going to leave her. But ghost Jackie's like, no, like he was mad I wasn't having sex with him. She's like, and you knew that. So Shauna knows that. This is really Shauna talking to herself. Deep down, she knows that. This is the guilt she's feeling, and she's going to feel more guilt because her friend just died as well. We also learn here, too, that Shauna made the first move. And that's when Jackie goes, why? Say it. Just say why you did that. We don't get that answer, though, here. They're saving that. That's interesting. I didn't even ever think about that. They haven't actually confirmed why. So we will hear the why, and I think that's fascinating to see what that in Shauna's head is. But she pushes her at this moment, and Jackie's ear comes off, and she puts it in her pocket. And what I like the show, in the middle of the episode, she's pacing up in the cabin and looking at this ear. Now we know she was pacing, looking at it, thinking about if she's going to eat it. And Ty always reads Shauna really well, because even showed Ty say to her, like, what's going on with you? Like, she knew she was really losing it. And then we see the next morning, she's pacing with this ear still, and she eats the ear. She's the first one we see in the order of the timeline eat a human. This is crazy, and it's crazier because it's Jackie she ate. So this really blows the doors off, like, meaning anything can happen in the show, and I love it. And I love it's the way they ended the episode. It was such a brilliant way to have, like, that as the tag. I thought that was great. It also means a lot more now, too, looking back at season 1, when Shauna would be visited by Jackie's ghost. It goes more deeper now because, there's some people who think when you eat, like, an animal as meat, that becomes a part of you, and that's why some people won't eat animal as meat. It's crazy to think of it as, like, Shauna's ate Jackie, so, like, she is a part of her even more now. She literally ate her. It's wild. And I'm wondering what they're gonna do with the rest of Jackie's body. So, and who's gonna find out about that? That's the thing. What is the reaction of the first person who finds out that someone else ate a person? Because you would have thought Lottie was the first one who would have ate somebody or got someone to do it. But it was Shauna, and it was Shauna out of her own doing, and they are starving. It was just very interesting that it was Jackie. Very, very crazy. That was the big kicker for the end of the premiere, so I'm so happy we got that. Now, let's jump over to Misty now in the present timeline. Gotta love the Caligula phone wallpaper. Any Caligula time we get, I'm happy. We got to even see her in this episode, which was great. It was quick. Everything happens with Misty, by the way, in present. You have to just rewatch because they throw a lot of humor in there that's just visual. Like, recent calls had just Nat and Thaisa over and over, but there's one that was Hello Birdie Pets. I thought that was great. And she goes on the Citizens Detectives Reddit as the African Gray. That's her username, after the African Gray parrot Caligula. And you see there's this post about a missing artist in Hoboken. This is Adam. So she sees a post that catches her eye that is on to what they did. And it is voiced by Elijah Wood. You can tell that voice anywhere. And now she's gonna be buddy with him to keep an eye on him and probably tear him down. That's a very exciting duo to see. I can't wait. And it's just great. They always honor Misty. As crazy as Misty is, that they always need Misty. Like, she's still covering and saving their ass, even be on top of this. But at the end of the day, Misty just wants to be with her friends. She wants to be loved. So she's checking on Natalie's motel, threatens the motel clerk. He only really knows and tells her, like, oh, she took off or something. So she feels rejected, goes to Natalie's room, and she's like, do not cry about this, Misty. Babies cry. This is why Christina Ricci is just amazing in scenes like that. But Misty sees, probably to her relief, that the door was messed with, meaning, oh, Natalie didn't leave me, so she was kidnapped. And there's a camera outside the door, so this is how Misty's going to eventually probably find her. Now let's go to Misty in the past. What I do want to bring up is this new girl table, right? These are characters we haven't seen before. And we see one of them's just, the one with the black hair was just really mean. She's like, I think they're talking about gods of the dirt, dumb jock boyfriends, but gods of the dirt, she's talking about the stuff Lottie got them all into. And it's interesting because it's just showing someone else who's completely against that, thinks it's silly. But she just yells at Crystal for singing pretty harshly. So I feel like they're making her so unlikable to start that character, the black hair, is probably going to be one of the first eaten. But the important intro here is probably Crystal, because Crystal is the one who bonds with Misty here, because she's like, I'll teach you to sing. We can harmonize together. So this is a duo here, and it could be a duo that tragically ends with Misty getting mad at Crystal, like she's gotten mad at Coach Ben. It's dangerous to even get close to Misty in that sense. But it's going to be interesting to see that with Crystal and what happens with her. So it's a new duo, so it adds more for Misty to have do and make interesting in her story. I like they're introducing some new characters here. They can, because they had a lot of bodies there with no names last season, so it makes sense. They could just use these as a lot of bodies to eat, or they could make characters like Crystal will get more screen time. We'll kind of see what goes on with that, but I'm fine with it. Now let's go over to present day Thaisa Turner, who is now Senator Thaisa Turner. She gets a new dog to replace Biscuit, and it's Steve. Love it. So Ty then drives to see Sammy after school to show him the new dog. This is the only part of this episode I didn't like, that didn't ring true to me and didn't feel right. Because why the hell would Simone just show up right at that moment to yell at Ty about what she saw? Let me tell you something. If anyone ever saw that in the cellar and wanted to protect their kid, like we see she does with Sammy, she would immediately ran to Sammy wherever he was, grabbed him, and would have called Ty at that moment. Period. Like, there's no way they would have went like a day or two and him go to school and yeah, whatever. No, it was very weird how they did that. I just didn't like it. Like, what was Simone doing for the past 24 hours after seeing what she saw? Come on. So, because of that, though, we see that Ty, again, is not aware of what she's doing down there, and that Biscuit's head is down there, and that she probably ate Biscuit or just killed it, whatever, and that she has a shrine. So she's confused at like what Sammy's talking about. And she's like, you have to step down and get help or I'm going to go to the press. But no, Ty knows she has these episodes at night, right? So this all to me again is setting up with this whole divide of Ty and Simone, that it's leading the way to Ty to reunite with Van. Because I know that Van and Ty, what separates them in the end clearly with the Wilderness is that Van is Team Lottie and Ty's really not into that stuff. But it seems like, I feel like the way they're writing this, that we did not see adult Van with Lottie in present day. Well, in this episode at least, but it looks like to me she's not with her. So it could be that Van flips on Lottie in present day already. Something happened where they switched off. So that could leave the room for Ty and Van to reunite and click. We'll see. But we see that Ty sees the cellar, the blood, and Sammy's doll is in there, Biscuit's head, and says to Steve, this is a mistake. I'm going to do better with you. And I just keep thinking, watch that. Like, man, she needs Van. She needs that person who's willing to help her through the night. And they do a good job hinting at that because they show us now with past Ty that Van's got those really deep wrist marks from being tied to her, and she keeps saying to Ty, like, I am willing to do this for you. And we even see Ty in her sleep bites Van really hard while kissing her. And Van says, I'm never be scared of you, don't worry. And then we get this very cute moment where Van writes, I love you, with blood. That's the way she says it to her from the bite. And it's the first time she says it, and Ty says it back. You know, they have amazing chemistry on screen, and it's really a great relationship they're writing out, those two characters. So you hope you get a kind of payoff with them in the adult timeline. It'll be interesting to see if they ever reunite, which of course they will, but we'll see what happened, what's going to happen between the two, which will be interesting. Okay, so let's wrap up now with everything going on with Natalie. We'll start with the past Natalie first. Now, remember, Javi went missing. We saw Shauna say to him to run, and he's missing. So Nat and Travis are looking for food, but they're also looking for Javi. It feels very Walt Lost season 2, but I'm a sucker for those kind of someone's missing stories. So you hope Javi's alive, who knows? And it's sad. You see Travis thinks he sees a dead Javi, but it's just a fox. And it's weird because then like Natalie's being smart and she's putting up these markers to, you know, mark where they're going, and then it's building a huge map, which looks awesome that she's figuring that out with Coach Ben, but I think that might backfire because there's hints that there's other people out there with them because of the symbols and everything, or someone was there. So are they going to run to more people? If they are, I'm sure the way those people will find them is through the markers that Natalie has been leaving. And you see Natalie and Coach Ben have just like, yeah, Javi's dead, right? Like they don't think he has a shot of being alive. But Nat's, you know, slowly going easy on Travis. And then when she starts to be more confrontational about it, Travis has a panic attack. But the big moment is Lottie comes over to him, puts her hand on him like she did the woman in the hospital earlier in the episode, and it calms him down and it arouses him, and he sees a vision of a tree that looks very similar, the bottom of it, to the trunk that Natalie and Travis see at the end of the episode out there that doesn't have snow on it, that looks like it would be in the summer, like it has life still. So I think there's a connection there. I also think it's interesting that Lottie's camp is called Camp Green Pine in present day. So she's got this very big connection to the trees out there. And Lottie says Javi is alive. So this is going to be what Travis likes about Lottie, what's going to suck him in. And he's broken right now. And we see that what's going on with Lottie, like every cult leader does, is they feed on the people that are broken, right? So she's doing that with present day with Natalie because she's broken over Travis, and she's doing it over Travis, who's now in this timeline broken over Javi. So he wants to hear that hope, and she knows it. And this is going to be that divide, I think, that will happen with Travis and Nat that I don't think gets resolved. and it won't be his eyes opened about Lottie till too late, right? And he writes that note to Natalie. Now, present day Natalie's chained to the bed. And remember, Nat was so low, like I'm talking about, where she's at rock bottom, right? She was about to kill herself before she was kidnapped. And we meet septum piercing girl, who could be Lottie Jr., but that might be too easy. I actually think I'd rather it not be Lottie Jr. But she's wearing the symbol on her necklace, and Natalie notices that. It's like, no, 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 no. And I love in this room, there's just a quilt on the wall. That's literally all that's in that room. And it just says breathe on it, like classic Lottie. But Natalie stabs her with a fork into the hand. Gets away, but doesn't really get away. She sees the ritual they're doing. And they have the animal masks on. Looked like what the group does in the wilderness at some point. And they're burying this naked man alive. And it's like a sacrifice of sorts. He's willingly doing this. Or we think he's willingly doing it. Wasn't resisting. And Lottie shows up. But that's where Natalie's like, why shouldn't I beat your head in? And she says, I have a message from Travis. Again, this is like, can you trust Lottie? Is this false hope she's giving Natalie? She sees Natalie is broken right now. Is this going to convert Natalie? We'll see. But it's very, very interesting. I mean, I thought this was way better than I could have even expected the premiere to be, because usually premieres are slow going, but it lives up to me to the premiere of season 1. I think this is one of the best episodes of Yellowjackets. I'd say top 3. And I don't expect that in premieres usually. So I'm giving this one 9.5 because just look at like how much I had to talk about. There's so much meat to this episode, where some episodes in Yellowjackets last season, like towards the middle, there wasn't that much meat. You know, you'd be like, okay, come on, let's get on with this and that. This was like, whoo. So let's hope this whole season does that. This is very exciting. It gives me a lot of hope about the season. Let me know your theories, your thoughts, everything. Please, please subscribe. Again, it'll help me so many ways. I also am covering Succession at the moment, and I do interviews as well. I'll be doing interviews for this show, so check those out. Please follow me at Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.